Well, welcome everybody, and thank you for being here to listen to the show today. I want to start off with just a little snippet that I took off my guest's website. People everywhere are rethinking their drinking. Perhaps that resonates with you. Newsweek declared that Gen Z is abandoning alcohol, citing that 64% over 21 have not consumed alcohol in the last 6 months. And that's a June 2024 statistic. That's pretty current. And then manufacturers are certainly responding to this with far more offers of NA or lower alcohol offerings. And the retail stores are seeing this, that these options are selling. And with my own personal little snippet that I wanted to add in here, I recently discovered a fabulous IPA beer made by the Athletic Brewing Company. And not a plug for them, not being paid for this, but discovered them via an Instagram post. And I thought, well, I have to order this online. It's the only way to get it. It was rather expensive, the shipping. And then I was thrilled to discover that Trader Joe's actually carries it. And then along with that, finding that even Guinness now offers an NA version. So definitely seeing that trend changing. But my guest today, Caroline Holke, helps women who have decided to drink less or perhaps not at all and don't resonate with the AA alternative, but want to continue with their self-development and work within a community of like-minded women. So Caroline, welcome. Thank you for being here today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Thank you.
It's very much top of mind, it seems, for a lot of people. So I think this is going to be a very valuable conversation to have and just to share some inspiration for others that are sitting in this space at the moment. So
Yeah.
I'd love to just tell my listeners a little bit about your background.
Perfect.
All right. So Caroline Holke comes from a background of corporate brand marketing for over 20 years at a Fortune 100 company. And Caroline shares she was able to check a lot of those boxes: successful career, master's degree, happily married, mom of two. But you weren't happy until you started changing your drinking. And I love this last hangover, August 2016.
Yeah.
That's quite a ways back.
Yeah.
Good for
It was
you.
a doozy.
Yeah, wow. And to get you there, you mentioned that you started working with a coach. And I
Yes.
think that's often our starting point is,
Mm.
we realize we need somebody to journey with us. And
Mm-hmm.
then we in turn want to pass that gift on
Yeah, absolutely.
to others.
Absolutely. It
So,
was so fantastic for me. Um, and then I think what is so interesting, and whether you enter the world of self-development through looking at your drinking, or some people it's diet, or some people it's like, having a better organizational system or whatever it is. When we start to get those successes, particularly as adults, when we start to get those successes, I know for me anyway, I looked back and I was like, well, at one point I thought that was impossible. And it turns out I was wrong there. What else am I wrong about? And
right.
it's just,
Yeah.
it's just
It
been really
opens your
fun.
mind to just exploring a whole lot more things. And I love
Yeah.
now that you've moved into your coaching practice, which just focuses, as you say, on the living more phase,
Yeah.
teaching women how to deal with their stress in healthier ways, because often it's just a coping mechanism,
Yeah.
and we
Yeah.
cannot think of an alternative, and we don't think we can move,
Yeah.
and we sometimes don't have enough reason to move. So that's another whole space to
Right.
explore to
Right.
get that movement going.
Yeah.
But before we
Mhm.
dig into all our topics related to alcohol and managing stress and redefining things like relaxation, I want to ask you just a fun question, if I may.
Yeah, sure.
All right. So if you could instantly master any skill or hobby and not related to what you do,
Yeah.
what would it be and why would you choose that?
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So I love crochet. But I do it very sporadically. So if I could just instantly, if I had the fairy godmother wand and somebody could like instill within me how to read these patterns and know how to, or I don't know, figure out how to count them in a way. I don't know. I would love that skill. That would be amazing.
Yeah,
So
that sounds so relaxing and peaceful. Yeah, there's often
it
that,
is. Yeah.
you don't do something because there's this big learning curve or it just
Yeah.
doesn't come together fast enough
Mhm,
that
mhm, mhm.
who knows? Maybe one day you'll just wake up and
There
you'll
you go.
be
Yeah.
crocheting away and get it all
Yeah.
together. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
that would be fun. But, well, while you're talking about crocheting and I'm thinking, relaxation,
Hmm.
let's look at redefining what we think about this relaxation and stress relief, because I
Right.
think many people associate alcohol with unwinding and
Yes.
relaxation.
Yes.
So just kind of exploring, how could we start to shift this mindset and think that, hang on a minute, there are some other ways to manage
Yeah.
stress that
Yeah.
genuinely can nurture our well-being.
Right. Right. Okay. So this is such a great one because that is a common belief that it does help us relax. And I'll give you for the first 20 minutes, it does actually, it will help relax the system for the first 20 minutes. And then after that point, then actually it spikes our cortisol level. So if you look at it scientifically, it's actually
Mhm.
increasing stress, which is why a lot of times we'll wake up at like 3 o'clock in the morning and wonder, "Oh, why did I have that extra glass? Or why can't I sleep?" And the brain starts spinning. So if you look at it just from, in a scientific manner, if you take your cortisol levels are actually increased by drinking. So fascinating, isn't it? Like, I think there's this whole myth that it helps you relax.
Right.
When you look at it and you pull back and look at a bigger picture, it's actually not helping you
Right.
relax. It's increasing your stress hormones. It's increasing your anxiety level. People talk about anxiety. I mean, it's a
Okay.
thing. Hmm. Hmm.
Wow.
Hmm.
Wow. That's, yeah. So this shifting your mindset, you come with just some knowledge, some
Right.
education behind,
Right.
what is
Right.
this all about, and just
Right.
digging a little deeper. And then, of course, there's this whole ripple effect, because you speak about not necessarily telling everybody they have to give up alcohol, and we have these other
Right.
options that we
Right.
mentioned, the NA, the
Right.
less alcohol,
Right.
or just reducing.
Hmm.
But obviously, I think of physical health.
Hmm.
So I think of all the sugar content and the weight content. But what are some other unexpected benefits that you have found while journeying with your clients or taking yourself through the process and
Yeah.
now working with
Yeah.
clients? What have they experienced, this kind of ripple effect when they've started reducing their alcohol intake?
Right. Well, I mean, the list goes on for pages. I'm going to start with another myth buster, which is that people think that it helps them sleep.
Ah,
And so you hear that a lot. It helps me fall asleep at night, whatever. But if you actually look at data, if you wear a Fitbit or an Apple Watch or something like that, you'll actually look at the data. The data will tell you that you have more fitful sleep after you've been
ah,
drinking. And I really like to go to that. I like to go to, I mean, I'm a mindset coach primarily. And, just understanding that, yeah, of course you believe this stuff because everybody will reinforce it. And your girlfriends are going to tell you this, and your mom and your sister and everybody else. Everybody agrees. Everybody thinks that
right.
this is true. But if
Yes.
you look at your own data, like what's it
Right.
doing for you?
Yeah. Yeah. And
And
then
then start
realize,
to, just
yeah.
even let just a little bit of light in, start
Mhm.
easing off of that a little bit. It's like, oh, well, maybe that isn't really helpful.
Yeah. It's funny
Mhm.
because as you say that, it's sometimes just testing the waters ourselves
Right.
and going, okay, let's just try this on for size. If you're telling me this is, not helping me sleep and it's not
Mhm.
really helping me
Yeah.
de-stress,
Yeah.
as you say, only for the first 20 minutes,
Yeah.
what would this look like? And it's funny because I remember a little while back, before we can come back to this ripple effect, but even just the suggestion of, well, have a glass of water, have
Mhm.
something
Mhm.
else,
Mhm. Mhm.
perhaps set a timer for
Mhm.
20 minutes or do something to
Yeah.
steer you away from that. Because likewise, as a mindset coach, we need to deal with some of these things
Yeah.
and distract ourselves and then suddenly realize the benefit
Right.
of going, okay, so maybe that's just
Mhm.
one less glass of wine this evening.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you can, test, well, did I sleep better?
Right. Right.
But,
Right.
but I'm thinking within this ripple effect of basically drinking less, that there's got to be some other impact on the areas, even just like relationships.
Oh, relationships are huge. Yes, of course. That is really kind of the first thing that we work on in my community. Um, and it's relationships with other people, because a lot of time we've got either perfectionist tendencies, which is really just we're trying to outrun ourselves. Perfectionism is a nice way to phrase. I remember when I was first interviewing for jobs right out of college, like that's what you were supposed to tell the interviewer.
Right.
Oh, my flaw is I'm a perfectionist, which is actually, if you look at it under the hood, that's just, I'm afraid of what I'm going to tell myself if I don't get it perfectly.
Right. There's no human factor in this. I'm just this robot that's going to deliver.
Well, and what I really don't, honestly, what I really don't like about not being right is what I'm going to tell myself.
Mhm.
Because an athlete, they have to try things a million different times, or a scientist, or if you're in innovation in business or in any other, like, we have to be okay with ourselves. And that really has to do with relationship with self.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's so critically important. So we talk about relationships with other people. How am I interpreting what this person is saying? What am I making this mean? What are these words? And,
Right.
when we look at our perspective is only our perspective. If we know that it's causing us suffering, then maybe there's another way to look at this. And
Yeah.
and believe me, it sounds so simple on paper. And this is one of those things it's really helpful to have another set of eyes helping you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I could just, as you say that, not only having the other set of eyes, how important this is to do this, A, with a coach, and then B, in community.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
are other people walking this road,
Right.
exploring, wanting to learn.
Right. Right.
So
Right. Right.
important.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that so often, it's ironic that as we become more connected with all of our devices and all this other kind of stuff, we still feel very alone.
Right.
We still end up feeling like nobody really understands me.
Mm.
And so when we're in community and you can hear somebody else talking about something that, maybe some of the details are a little bit different, but the kernel of it is something that I can very much relate to. I feel seen.
Mm-hmm.
And, oh yeah, by the way, I didn't even realize that I was struggling with that until she brought it up. And you know what? It's always easier to hear it from somebody else than it is like
Absolutely.
when we're
Yeah.
under the
Yeah.
spotlight. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, I mean, obviously we talk about community now, so let's just sort of move that from, a lot of us are still meeting online, having,
Yeah.
communities that we create, whether that be in a space like LinkedIn or wherever else, but then you've got
Mm-hmm.
the social gatherings,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
be that family, be that, especially now as we move into this end of the year and gathering together with lots of people. And, I come from South Africa. The norm in South Africa is huge around a drinking scenario.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you go to a barbecue, which we call a braai, and it's always have one more. I mean, you think how dangerous this is. Have one more for the road.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
never
Yeah. Yeah.
letting somebody go. It's like, you need to have one more. You have one more. So when we look at these social gatherings and that drinking is so much
Mm-hmm.
part of it, how can someone begin to navigate this in a different way, but with confidence? And, do their family and friends need to know that they're not drinking, or can they step up and talk about it? I mean, where does
Yeah,
that
that is such a great question. And it's so unique to the individual and the circumstance. So, for example, some people will get really fired up by announcing they've got a goal. And so they put it out there and they're like, I am totally going to do this. Some people, like, it goes the opposite. They're like, I don't want anybody to know. I don't want, I want to do this privately and then announce, and so that's very unique. So I can't say that there's one size fits all in terms of how I would recommend, you go about that. But that's something that we can certainly uncover. And that'll have to do with how they feel. Does the idea of making the big pronouncement and like having it all out there, does that excite you or does that terrify you? That's
Right.
a sign, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and also to distinguish, sometimes when we have stretchy goals, we get a little scared, but sometimes stretchy goals are what we need. That doesn't necessarily mean that this is not for me. So
Right.
that takes a little kind of teasing apart between those two. Am I a little nervous about doing this because this is going to stretch me in a good way, or is this just like not for me? So anyway, there's no one size fits all regarding how to manage that. I do personally believe that in general, it's good to keep the routine. If you've got a routine of coming home at night and like that cocktail marks the end of your workday and into your family evening time, keep the routine. Get the fancy drink glass out and put whatever in a product or water, fancy water, whatever, whatever that is. But that ritual right there is serving a different purpose, and I feel like those kinds of things are important. Same thing with family. Like if the family is big into, if it's a big drinking family, whatever, yeah, carry the drink around. When somebody's going to offer you a drink, I would love the or I brought mine, or whatever that is. It is important to practice that, because it's funny how quickly your like drink of choice just falls out of your mouth if you don't practice it.
That's interesting, the thought of practice, because it just brings to mind, I love taking LaCroix to have my sparkly water, and then I take the mixer that you would put into a cocktail.
Yeah.
And I put that into a glass, over ice, and so it tastes a little better, and but it's so true what you say, because if you get given the drink and then you're walking around, you feel you need to drink it. So sometimes that's a case of like, well, putting it down somewhere, or tipping it out, or whatever that might look like to,
I mean, sometimes it's really fun to, if you're going to an event, you can say, can I bring, it's pretty common to say, what can I bring? And maybe you bring an appetizer, and you bring like, oh, I made this fancy mocktail, like a picture of fake margarita, mock margaritas, or whatever that is, and it's funny how it's just interesting how people will be willing to try it. And then all of a sudden it's not anything shameful. You're inviting everybody in
to join.
Yeah. And they can choose to join or not, right? It doesn't, it makes it more inclusive.
As you're sharing that, the word inclusive, I'm wondering how much encouragement that might give to others who haven't yet chosen to step into the space of recognizing and wanting to take action. And as you say, you mentioned AA is not for everybody. So where do you start with the client to kind of help them look at first steps? What does that look like?
Well, they're coming to me, right? So they're coming to me saying, I don't have a drinking problem necessarily, but I've got a problem with my drinking. I want to shift things. They've already done that work. And now they're in that precipice point, or they're at that point where they say, I didn't think that was possible, but now I really want to address some of these things that maybe I wasn't addressing before when I was drinking a little bit more than I wanted to. So they're I'm not specifically advising them how to do anything about their drinking, because they've already really addressed that. And we're talking about other things, but I think your question really is about other people. Am I getting that one right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't personally advise that.
Yeah.
That's, and because then that's kind of a different category of, if somebody's really got problematic drinking, if it's really impacting their life and all that kind of stuff, that's out of my scope. So I want to stay within my lane ethically and
absolutely. Journeying in that. And so I'd love for you, Caroline, to tell me a little bit more. If people were interested in working with you, I wanted to make sure that I had your website and your links. So tell me a little bit more about, they're going, I want to start this conversation. I want to explore what this is about.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. So I do a group program, and I have, we do a smaller group. I like having an intimate group. So an intimate group of women who have already figured out the drinking side. So, but again, they're at that stage where it's like, okay, now I'm ready to address the relationship stuff. Now I'm ready to kind of look at my perfectionist tendencies because I know there's something else underneath there, or
Right.
people pleasing, or whatever that is. So, in general, what I like to say is what we're really focusing everything on, all the curriculum, all the discussions, are start to care for myself the same way I care for the loved ones in my life. We as women in particular are such caregivers, and we're always giving, giving, giving. And a lot of times that leaves a space that
Right.
feels kind of empty.
Empty.
And so learning some of those skills is really helpful, and particularly within a community.
Yeah,
And
wonderful.
along the journey, one of the things that's really important as we care for ourselves the way we care for other people is stop feeling like our emotions are such a problem that need to be solved.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah.
often we start drinking, we emotionally eat. There's a phrase for retail therapy. We do all sorts of things in order to
Right.
avoid our emotions. Yes. So
Yeah.
now that we've got
That,
the drinking kind of in a good space, we don't want to start playing whack-a-mole. Let's start understanding
right.
what are those emotions underneath there? What are they trying to tell us?
Kind of when you say that, sort of normalizing it and
Yeah.
accepting it and approaching it with some
Yeah.
curiosity, as
Yeah.
opposed to condemning ourselves. Because to me, if we shame and blame and then we're mad at ourselves,
Right.
then it doesn't open up the door
Right.
to start shifting our mindset and moving into a
Yeah.
beautiful new space.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
that is so powerful. Now, can people jump on a call with you to kind of discover more? Is that a good
Yeah.
way to
Absolutely.
connect with you?
Absolutely. And I'll include those links for you so that,
That sounds wonderful.
yeah.
And then
Yeah.
as far as social media, where is the best place to connect with you?
Facebook or Instagram,
All right,
probably
wonderful.
more
Yeah.
so Instagram, but it's generally both. Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll
Mhm.
make sure to pop that all in there. And then any special offer or special product that's coming up or starting in the new year that you want
I
people to know about?
Yeah, I do have a group starting. I was going to start it in November, but I decided that with elections and all sorts of stuff
Right,
going on, maybe that's a perfect time. I don't know. I felt like I would give that a little breathing room.
right.
I will be doing every year I do a workshop specifically about how to handle your holidays with your family, with
Okay.
all the things that come up. We typically shift back into our patterned behaviors. And
Right.
so holidays are a good time to do that. So I'll include some information about that workshop when I do that. And then I will be opening up a new group for uncorking your life after overdrinking pretty soon.
Love
So
that. Uncorking your life.
yeah,
That's
it's
a
just the
beautiful
beginning.
name.
Yeah.
Well, this is wonderful. Thank you, Caroline. Thanks for just laying out some thoughts for people to just consider.
Yeah.
Not the shaming and just get curious.
Yeah.
Connect with
Yeah.
you. So for my listeners, if this is something that resonates with you, I invite you to connect with Caroline. As we had, all the links will be below in the show notes. And if this conversation has sparked something for you that you can, not necessarily for yourself, but perhaps for somebody else that you think they need to listen to this episode, I encourage you to share it. And along with that, I encourage you to embrace your own unique way of connecting, inspiring, and creating this week, hence the name of my show, Connect, Inspire, Create, and let your choices bring a sense of ease and flow into your world. And if you're looking for tools to build a positive habits around a long life positive mindset, then I'd love to explore with you what you're looking for and offer my services as a mindset and accountability coach. And I work with women coaches in midlife to just find the balance in their business endeavors, their marketing, and their personal life. So connect with me on LinkedIn or visit my website at carolclegg.com. And Caroline, thanks again. This was
Thank
a
you.
great conversation.
Yeah. I've enjoyed it. Thank you.